And so am I.
What?
What?
I don't believe it.
What? What's that other song?
Macklemore.
That's the one.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. That was the folk version I just gave you.
And I don't know why I made that
What
sound.
is this? I don't know.
What pocket is that?
Someone's pocket.
Okay. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Dominic. How are you?
Clearly I'm well.
Oh, we are all over it today. My computer just shat itself, but we're back.
We're all cool with shitting on Shittin Bricks.
Totally.
In fact, we encourage it. I was just watching a really informative TikTok on anal fishes. So go watch that.
Absolutely. Learn something, kids. That's what we always say.
Yes. About your bottom.
Mm.
All right, Kate. I think we're just going to have to jump straight into it. We don't have any BrewPod networks. We don't have anything other than please go sign up to our Patreon. We love you.
Yes. But I've had bloobs for this story. Blue boobs.
Blue
for
boobs.
This whole 2 weeks.
That's what our merch idea of the week is going to be. I'm going to do a t-shirt design of blue boobs.
Yay! I've got bloobs. Because why does it have to be blue balls all the time? Like, let's be inclusive, folks. Whatever you want it to be blue is you can be blue. We're just excited.
Bloobs.
So
for those that have no idea what we're talking about, 2 weeks ago, I decided to do probably my all-time favorite or one of my all-time favorite stories, which I've been saving for a special occasion. And we are doing it in 2 parts, and that's the story of the Somerton Man.
Somerton Man.
So I'm sure you're all, just sitting at home gagging and telling me over the device that you're listening
over the wireless
to shut up, Dom, and get to the story. But I knew that this was going to be a good time to do this story because my little birdies told me that there was some announcements coming down the pipeline soon about this case.
Yes.
So I thought, let's get in the first one before the announcements are made. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, immediately after the release of Somerton Man episode 1, there was a series of updates and articles all across the world, because it's that famous a story.
Yeah.
Explaining that it is solved.
Oh my God.
My goodness.
You did not, you didn't give any inkling that this was going to be something that was coming down the pipeline. And I foolishly sent you the link when I saw this story. And they're like, it's been solved. I was like, oh my God, Dominic, look at this. It's like crazy at the time you released your story. And you're like, I know, babe. Bro. I got you.
But it does make it so real. And Kate and I, we like to find stories every now and again that have a modern or, they're relevant still today. And I didn't want to hint at it because I wasn't 100% sure that we were going to have an update. I'd hate to promise it and then it not come to fruition. And Kate has been so well behaved, folks. She has not read a single thing, so she has no fucking clue what happened.
None. I am here listening for the first time. I'm so excited.
Breaking news. But anyway, that's how amazing and powerful Kate are as, faux, investigators and crime scene solvers.
Yeah, I think
it's all because of us.
Called. I remember that series, Law and Order Crime Scene Solvers. That's a good series. Only ran for a couple of eps, but hey, check it out.
That's all right. So let's get straight into it. I'm not even going to recap where I left it off. I'll say 2 words, Jessica Thompson. So go back, listen to episode 1. It's really good. But we're going to jump straight back into the story, Kate, and then I'm going to finish with the latest. Okay, here we go. Spy theories, right?
Yep.
It was pretty obvious to us after episode 1 that there was a lot of confusing and kind of sus things going on, right? Especially around the book Rubaiyat, and codes and all that sort of stuff, name tags off of clothes, blah, blah, blah. So so easy, just like the Isdale woman, for us to just assume and go for the easy excuse of, he must have been a spy. So let's unpack that.
Let's.
There has been persistent speculation that the dead man was a spy due to the circumstances and historical context of his death. At least 2 sites relatively close to Adelaide were of interest to spies at the time. One was the Radium Hill uranium mine and the Woomera Test Range, an Anglo-Australian military research facility.
So they weren't just there for all the churches?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Name of the Father and of the Son.
The Son and the uranium plant. Amen.
Yeah. Now, the man's death also coincided with a reorganisation of Australian security agencies, which would culminate the following year with the founding of the Australian Secret Intelligence Organisation, otherwise known as
ASIO.
ASIO. ASIO. So kind of timing, right? It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
This would be followed by a crackdown on Soviet espionage in Australia, which was revealed by intercepts of Soviet communications under the Venona project. Now, another theory concerns Boxall. Hope you remember who Boxall was. It's okay if you don't.
Okay, I don't. I'm so sorry. I thought that was a test and I thought I failed real quick. So
that's all right. Boxall was the connection to Jessica Thompson, who also had a copy of the book. Yeah. So, and we all thought, Somerton Man must have been Boxall. She'd given them the book to Boxall, but they ended up finding him, and it turns out he still had his original copy, which was
he was fine.
Quite rare, but it was still a bit dodgy. Anyway, there was another theory that concerned Boxall, who was reportedly involved in intelligence work during and immediately after World War II. In a 1978 television interview, Stuart Littlemore asks, Mr. Boxall, you had been working, hadn't you, in an intelligence unit before you met this young woman, Jessica Thompson, or Jessica Harkness, as her alias was.
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk to her about that at all? In reply, Boxall says, no. And when asked if Harkness could have known, Boxall replies, not unless somebody else told her. Now, when Littlemore suggests in the interview that there may have been an espionage connection to the dead man in Adelaide, Boxall replies, it's quite a melodramatic thesis, isn't it?
Mm.
Boxall's army service record suggests that he served initially in the 4th Water Transport Company before being seconded to the North Australian Observer Unit, NAOU, a special operations unit, and that during his time with NAOU, Boxall rose rapidly in rank, being promoted from Lance Corporal to Lieutenant within 3 months.
Ooh.
So, if you want to go down the spy route, there's plenty there to connect to.
Who doesn't like a good spy route?
Right?
Mm.
It's not that there haven't been cases of spies being, ferreted out and so on at this time. So it's a legitimate thing. Now, post the formal inquest in 1949, the body of the unknown man was buried in Adelaide's West Terrace Cemetery, where the Salvation Army conducted the service. Boo, Salvation Army. Sorry, I have a problem with you. No, you have a problem with me, my people. You. The South Australian Grandstand Bookmakers Association paid for the service to save the man from a pauper's burial. Burial's
Your
wedding.
terrible burial.
Years after the burial, flowers began appearing on the grave. Now, police questioned a woman seen leaving the cemetery, but she claimed she knew nothing of the man. About the same time, Ina Harvey, the receptionist from the Strathmore Hotel opposite Adelaide Railway Station, revealed that a strange man had stayed in room 21 or room 23 for a few days around the time of the death, checking out on the 30th of November 1948. Now, she recalled that he was English-speaking and only carrying a small black case, not unlike one a musician or a doctor might carry. When an employee looked inside the case, he told Harvey he had found an object inside the case he described as looking like a needle.
Okay.
Interesting. On the 22nd of November 1959, it was reported that one E.B. Collins, an inmate of New Zealand's Whanganui prison. Yeah. please teach me on my Maori, claimed to know the identity of the dead man. There have been numerous unsuccessful attempts in the 70-plus years since its discovery to crack the letters found at the rear of the book, including efforts by military and naval intelligence, mathematicians, and amateur code crackers. In 2004, retired detective Jerry Feltus suggested in a Sunday Mail article that the final line, which is all the letters, and you should all have seen that on our socials because it's gibberish, could stand for the initials of "It's time to move to South Australia, Mosley Street." Now, Jessica Thompson, so if you looked at the letters,
yes,
the first letter of each word in that sentence, "It's time to move to South Australia, Mosley Street." That's what that acronym or that coded word could potentially suggest.
Okay.
Now, why Mosley Street? Well, Jessica Thompson lived on Mosley Street, which is the main road through Glenelg. A 2014 analysis by a computational, all the hard words.
Yeah, they're hitting you with them tonight.
My mouth is all
blah,
wet,
blah, blah,
full of words. A 2014 analysis by computational linguist John Reeling strongly supports the theory that the letters consist of the initials of some English text.
Okay.
It finds no match for these in a large survey of literature and concludes that the letters were likely written as a form of shorthand, not as a code, and that the original text can never likely or never be determined. So difficult. The code isn't really taking us anywhere.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's pretty, open for interpretation, and I guess codes are in a way, but it doesn't really get, there was nothing to go off. There was no key that they could work on. It's not like in, the newspaper where they give you the kangaroo and that's an L, and then they give you the kookaburra and that's a T. They had no start like that.
Yeah. And I mean, the point of this part of the story is just there's so many theories, right? There's an inmate saying he knew the person. There's this lady that's like, I saw someone strange at a hotel. There's so many things here that are worth investigating.
Yeah.
But you have to think of it situationally, right? And look at the whole picture.
The big picture.
In 1978, ABC TV, in its documentary series Inside Story, produced a program on the Tarmanshard case titled The Somerton Beach Mystery, where reporter Stuart Littlemore investigated the case, including interviewing Boxall, who could add no new information, and Paul Lawson, who made the plaster cast of the body and who refused to answer a question about whether anyone had positively identified the body. In 1994, John Harbour Phillips, Chief Justice of Victoria and Chairman of the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, reviewed the case to determine the cause of death and concluded that it seems little doubt it was digitalis, so the poison that they found. Phillips supported his conclusion by pointing out that the organs were engorged, consistent with digitalis, and the lack of evidence of natural disease and the absence of anything seen macroscopically which could account for death. So it's kind of good that they've gone back and they've reconfirmed, because remember, there was a few examinations of the body and the cause of death was always a bit we don't know.
We don't really know.
Yeah.
Could be this, could be that.
So we've, pardon the pun, reviewed the body to death.
Yes.
And we're confident.
That was great. We're confident. The Digi did it.
Digi did it.
Digi done it.
Now, former South Australian Chief Superintendent Len Brown, who worked on the case in the 1940s, stated that he believed that the man was from a country in the Warsaw Pact, which led to the police's inability to confirm the man's identity. So all these people are just coming up with random shit and just saying stuff. The South Australian Police Historical Society holds the plaster bust, which contains strands of the man's hair. Bing!
Bing!
We're going to start introducing a new thing, Kate. Whenever there's a clue in our story, let's just go bing.
Okay, I love that.
All right. Okay, any further attempts to identify the body have been hampered by the embalming formaldehyde having destroyed much of the man's DNA. Other key evidence no longer exists, such as the brown suitcase, which was just destroyed in 1986. Happy birthday to moi.
Happy birthday.
In addition, witness statements have disappeared from the police file over the years.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, you know what it's like when you move house. Sometimes you misplace things. I guess it would be the same for, a case that's 70-something years old. You'll just start to misplace things. I can understand that.
Okay, so now to some modern times, or the beginnings of some modern times.
Yes.
Let me introduce you to our Brickie of the Week, Derek Abbott.
Hi, Derek. Welcome to the pod.
Now, in March 2009, a University of Adelaide team led by Professor Derek Abbott began an attempt to solve the case through cracking the code and proposing to exhume the body to test for DNA. His investigations have led to questions concerning the assumptions police had made on the case. Abbott also tracked down the Barber waxed cotton of the period and found packaging variations. So remember, on his body, they found this waxed cotton.
Mm-hmm.
This may provide clues to the country where it was purchased. Now, decryption of the code was being started from scratch. It had been determined the letter frequency was considerably different from letters written down randomly. The frequency was to be further tested to determine if the alcohol level of the writer could alter random distribution. The format of the code also appeared to follow the quatrain format of Rubaiyat, supporting the theory that the code was on a one-time pad encryption algorithm.
Wow.
So that technically just means that somewhere in the book relates to the code.
The code that they made. Okay, yeah.
Copies of Rubaiyat, as well as the Talmud and Bible, were being compared to the code using computers to get a statistical base for letter frequencies. However, the code's short length meant the investigators would require the exact edition of the book used. With the original copy lost in the 1950s, so they don't even have the original book with the torn out page.
Right.
Researchers have been looking for a Fitzgerald edition, and God knows how different that might be.
Yeah.
An investigation had shown that the Somerton man's autopsy reports of 1948 and 1949 are now missing, and the Barr Smith Library's collection of Cleland's notes do not contain anything on the case. Who was the person who originally
investigated and did that? Yeah.
Now, Masej Henneberg, professor of anatomy at the University of Adelaide, examined images of the Somerton man's ears and found that his Simba, upper ear hollow, is larger than his cavum, which is the lower ear hollow, a feature possessed by only 1 to 2% of the Caucasian population.
Stop it.
In May 2009, Abbott consulted with dental experts who concluded that the Somerton man had hypodontia, a rare genetic disorder of both lateral incisors, a feature present again in only 2% of the general population.
Stop it. That's so handy. Science, man. Wow.
So cool.
It's so cool.
Pity I suck at science. But
my brain does not fire in that area.
I guess no, psychology,
linguistidos, all of those things you use your brains for.
I'm not too bad at that stuff anyway.
No, it's true.
Fuck me.
You are my resident therapist, which I appreciate and love you for, so thank you.
In June 2010, Abbott obtained a photograph of Jessica Thompson's eldest son, Robin, which clearly showed that he, like the unknown man, had not only a larger Simba and cavum, but also hypodontia.
That's wild. That's too rare. It's too rare. Those are double rares.
So do you want to know how rare that is?
Yes, please. I was trying to work out the maths, but again, maths, not my forte.
20 Holden VF Commodores stacked on one another.
19 wine bottles laid side by side.
Now, the chance that this was a coincidence has been estimated as between 1 in 10 million and 1 in 20 million.
Wow, okay.
So it's possible that you're more likely to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Now, the media have suggested that Robin Thompson, who was 16 months old in 1948 and died in 2009, may have been a child of either Boxall or the Somerton man and passed off as Prosper Thompson's son. DNA testing would confirm or eliminate this speculation. Now, Abbott believes an exhumation and an autosomal DNA test that could link the Somerton man to a short list of surnames, which, along with existing clues to the man's identity, would be the final piece of the puzzle.
Bing! Wait, was that right? Do I do bings there or no?
I like it. Bing and bing away.
I think we can bing.
Now, after discovering that Robin Thompson had died in 2009, Abbott contacted Rachel, the daughter of Roma Egan and Robin Thompson.
Okay.
Who had been adopted and grew up in New Zealand. Now, Abbott and Rachel married in 2010 and they have 3 children. The family has a painting of the Somerton man hanging in their home.
What?
Believing him to be family.
Right. Okay.
However, Rachel Egan's DNA has been analysed and links were found to the grandparents of Prosper Thompson. So
okay,
it was ruled out Prosper Thompson, who was Jessica Thompson's at the time.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. So
that's the papa. Okay, yeah. Not Somerton man based on the DNA.
Yeah. In July 2013, Abbott released an artistic impression he commissioned of the Somerton man, believing this might finally lead to an identification. Now, I want you all to remember, we're like late noughties, back in mid-2000s, late noughties. Mm-hmm. Abbott. Just remember our bro Derek.
Okay.
All this time we've been publishing the autopsy photo, and it's hard to tell what something looks like just from that, Abbott said. In December 2017, Abbott announced 3 excellent hairs at the right development stage for extracting DNA. Now, they had been found on the plaster cast of the corpse and had been submitted for analysis to the Australian Centre for Ancient DNA at the University of Adelaide.
All right.
So even after the formaldehyde, even after all this time, Derek and his team, D-Man, Dezza, Abbo.
Dezza Labs.
Abbott.
Desi's abs.
Yep. Still managed to find 3 hairs which could be used.
Mm-hmm.
Now, processing the results could reportedly take up to a year. This is 2017. While much of the DNA is degraded, in February 2018, the University of Adelaide's team obtained a high-definition analysis of the mitochondrial DNA from the hair sample from Somerton man. They found that the Somerton man belonged to haplogroup H4A1A1A, possessed by only 1% of Europeans.
Okay.
However, mitochondrial DNA is only inherited through the maternal line and therefore cannot be used to investigate a hereditary link between Rachel Egan, Abbott's wife, and the Somerton man.
Right.
Difficult, eh?
Okay. There's a lot of links.
Yeah.
But I'm hanging on.
All right. Put a pause on our D-Man Dezza.
Okay.
60 Minutes investigation. Now, at the same time, in November 2013, relatives of Jestin, or Jessica, gave interviews to the Channel 9 current affairs program 60 Minutes. Kate Thompson, the daughter of Jessica and Prosper Thompson, said that her mother was the woman interviewed by the police and that her mother had told her she had lied to them.
Scandal.
A scandalo.
A scandalo.
Jessica did know the identity of the Somerton man, and his identity was also known to a level higher than the police force.
Oh, okay. So we're circling back to some spy activity.
Now, Thompson's father had died in 1995 and mother had died in 2007. She suggested that her mother and the Somerton man may both have been spies. Excuse me. Had a burp come up then.
Oh, gracious.
Noting that Jessica Thompson taught English to migrants, was interested in communism and could speak Russian.
Okay.
Although she would not disclose to her daughter where she had learned it or why.
That's sus.
It's so there's some sussery.
Some sussery. I can't imagine that Duolingo was a big hit back in the 70s. So, it would be hard to pass that one.
Yeah. Now, Robin Thompson's widow, Roma Egan, and their daughter, Rachel Egan, also appeared on 60 Minutes, suggesting that the Somerton man was Robin's father and therefore Rachel's grandfather. Now, we know that's not the case because
the DNA proved it.
The Egans reported lodging a new application with the Attorney General, John Rao, to have the Somerton man's body exhumed and DNA tested. Abbott also subsequently wrote to Rao in support of the Egans, saying that the exhumation of DNA testing would be consistent with federal government policy of identifying soldiers in war graves and could bring closure to the families. Kate Thompson, however, opposed the exhumation as being disrespectful to her brother.
Oh, okay.
Exhumation. In October 2011, as interest in the case resurfaced, Attorney General John Rao refused to exhume the body, stating, "There needs to be public interest reasons that go well beyond public curiosity or broad scientific interest." Felter said he was still contacted by people in Europe who believed the man was a missing relative but did not believe an exhumation and finding the man's family grouping would provide answers to relatives, as during that period, so many war criminals changed their names and came to different countries. In October 2019, however, Attorney General Vicky Chapman granted approval for his body to be exhumed to extract DNA for analysis. The parties interested in the analysis agreed to cover the costs. A potential granddaughter's DNA is planned to be compared to the unknown man's to see if it is a match. Now, an exhumation was carried out on the 19th of May, 2021. This is last year, folks.
Last year.
The remains were deeper in the ground than previously thought. It was reported that the body was exhumed as part of Operation Persevere and Operation Persist, which are investigating historical unidentified remains in South Australia. I love that they've got their own operational names.
The names, they're great. And I love how much time they would spend coming up with these names. It would be fantastic.
It's South fucking Australia. Like, it ain't a big place. It ain't a lot of people.
No, I know.
No disrespect, but everything shuts at 5 p.m. in South Australia. It doesn't make sense. Now, the authorities have said that they intend to take DNA from the remains if possible. Dr. Anne Coxon of Forensic Science South Australia said that the technology available to us now is clearly light years ahead of the techniques available when his body was discovered. And that tests would use every method at our disposal to try and bring closure to this enduring mystery.
Yes.
Okie dokie. We are almost at it, Kate. Just hold on a little bit longer.
No, I'm loving this. You need the background. You need the background so that it's more impactful.
Now, there have been a number of possible identifications that have been proposed over the years. Now, the newspaper The Advertiser, on reporting the discovery of the body, gave the possible identification as E.C. Johnson, about 45, of Arthur Street, Payneham. Excuse me. The following day, 3rd of December 1948, Johnson identified himself at a police station. So it wasn't.
It's like, guys, you've said that I died on a beach. I'm still here.
Hello.
Hi. It's me.
That same day, the News published, as in the paper, the News, published a photograph of the dead man on its front page, leading to additional calls from members of the public about his possible identity. By the 4th of December, police had announced that the man's fingerprints were not on South Australian police records, forcing them to look further afield. On the 5th of December, the Advertiser again reported that police were searching through military records after a man claimed to have had a drink with a person resembling the dead man at a hotel in Glanglang on the 13th of November. During their drinking session, the mystery man supposedly produced a military pension card bearing the name Solomonson.
Oh, Solomonson. That sounds like it's made up.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your name? Jimmy Solomonson.
Or you're that drunk, you just like
Solomonson.
Solomonson. My name, your name, Solomonson. I'm Solomonson. Ah.
Have you read this book? It's very funny.
Let me write down my phone number.
Maybe that was the code. He wrote it on the same night.
Exactly. Now, in early January 1949, two people identified the body as that of 63-year-old former woodcutter Robert Walsh.
Oh.
A third person, James Mack, also viewed the body initially, but he could initially not identify it. But an hour later, he contacted police to claim that it was Walsh.
Mm.
Now, James Mack stated that the reason he did not confirm this at the viewing was a difference in the colour of the hair. Now, Walsh had left.
Yeah, you can't do that any other way, but like it couldn't possibly be him. He's got slightly blonder hair than what I remember.
Yeah. Now, Walsh had actually, in fact, left Adelaide several months earlier to buy sheep in Queensland, but had failed to return at Christmas as planned. Police were sceptical, believing Walsh to be too old to be the dead man anyway, 63.
Mm-hmm.
However, the police did state that the body was consistent with that of a man who had been a woodcutter. Remember, he had the calves.
Big old rough hands and yeah.
Although the state of the man's hands indicated that he had not cut wood for at least 18 months, though.
Okay.
So there was some other things that did not.
Yeah.
Any thoughts that a positive identification had been made were quashed, however, when Elizabeth Thompson, one of the people who had earlier positively identified the body as Walsh, retracted her statement after a second viewing of the body, where the absence of a particular scar, as well as the size of the dead man's legs. This man's legs must be
my God. Like elephantitis legs. He must have some serious, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, circa bloody Venice Beach.
Yeah, Somerton Man does not skip leg day.
He does not. He's all about it.
Yeah. By early February 1949, there had been 8 different positive identifications of the body, including 2 Darwin men who thought the body was of a friend of theirs, and others who thought it was a missing station worker, a worker on a steamship, or even a Swedish man.
Can I just sidebar for one moment?
Please,
You may get to it, so please tell me if you do. But does anybody know what happened to Robert Walsh? Or is that a different story?
Yeah,
was he fine?
He was fine. He just never came back.
Oh, okay. He just stayed up in Queensland with his sheep. Okay, cool. Just checking because that was going to niggle at me.
Yeah. No, good question. You're a sleuth. I love
Thanks. Amateur detective. What is it? Crime solver? I'm a crime solver.
Now, detectives from Victoria initially believed the man was from there because of the similarity of the laundry marks to those used by several dry cleaning firms in Melbourne. God, that's technical.
Well, that's really, that's picking it, grasping at straws.
CSI Adelaide. Do.
Could you imagine that?
Love it. Now, Victoria detective disproved all the claims and said that other investigations indicated it was unlikely that he was from Victoria. A seaman named Tony Reid from the SS Cycle in port at the time was thought to be the dead man. But after some of his shipmates viewed the body at the morgue, they stated categorically that the corpse was not that of Reid.
Mm-hmm.
And he was back on the ship cooking them dinner in the mess.
They need to check before they get people to come and look at this dead body. Just make sure that the person they're claiming it is, that he's not back at the boat. Imagine that. Just we're going to go off and have a look at this dead body we think is you. We'll be right back. Oh, no, not him. Believe it or not.
Now, by November 1953, police announced that they had recently received the 251st solution to the identity of the body from members of the public.
That would be us as crime solvers.
Yeah,
we've solved this case 251 times.
I love that they waited for 251. They're not let's celebrate 250.
250. But little balloons.
Harry, put up the poster in the office.
Yeah, get the cake out again, doll.
Let's have a cake. Love it. You're Australian when you rock up with a Woolies chocolate cake.
Oh, yes, please. Happy. Yeah.
Oh, but they did say that the only clue of any value remained the clothing the man wore. So, they're on Struggle Street.
They really are.
In 2011, an Adelaide woman contacted biological anthropologist Henberg about an identification card of an H.C. Reynolds that she found in her father's possessions. Now, the card, a document issued in the United States to foreign seamen during World War I, was given to Henberg on October 2011 for comparison to the ID photograph to that of the Somerton man. While Henberg found anatomical similarities in features such as nose, lips, and eyes, He believed they were not as reliable as the close similarity of the ear.
Mm-hmm.
The ear shapes shared by both men were a very good match, although Henneberg also found that he called a unique identifier, a mole on the cheek that was the same shape and in the same position in both photographs.
Ooh.
Together with the similarity of the ear characteristics, this mole in a forensic case would allow me to make a rare statement positively identifying the Somerton man.
Mm.
Now, the ID card numbered 58757 was issued in the United States on the 28th of February 1918 to one H.C. Reynolds, giving his nationality as British and age as 18. Now, searches conducted by the US National Archives, the UK National Archives, and the Australian War Memorial Research Centre have failed to find any records relating to one H.C. Reynolds.
What? Oh, that would be so annoying.
Like, what are the bloody chances?
Oh, and you like find this and you think you've like cracked it. Guys, we're at 252. We're doing it. We're really doing it. And then they can't find anything.
The South Australian Police Major Crime Branch, who still have the case listed as open, will investigate the new information. Some independent researchers believe the ID card belonged to H.C. Reynolds. His name was Horace Charles Reynolds, a Tasmanian man who died in 1953 and therefore could not have been the Somerton man.
Oh, God.
Okay, take a deep breath.
Okay, I'm just getting so annoyed.
Because we're so close.
No, I just want them to solve it. Like, wouldn't you just imagine being in the police force for like 30 years? So doing your whole career, 30, 40 years, however long people have careers for, I don't know. And you are, this is just constantly there. This Somerton man, Somerton man, Somerton man. You'd be like, give me a break. Right.
And it's not like they're getting weak leads. Like some of them are shit for sure. You know, 230 of them are shit. But the other
those dry cleaning labels look like they're from, you know, the laundromat on Smith Street.
Yeah. Like, you got to give them credit. They've done a cracker of a job. They have, it's not like people have ignored this or not followed up things here. They've really tried, and they've had some pretty damn close calls.
Yeah.
Now, before I get to the most recent updates, oh my God.
Oh gosh. Are you okay today? Yeah, that's all right.
It was finally meant to happen. Now, there has been lots of pop culture and media about this.
Excellent.
Now, there is there's a book called The Unknown Man, A Suspicious Death at Somerton Beach by Gerald Michael Feltus. That was published in 2010. Go read it. There is Tum and Shud, The Somerton Man Mystery by Kerry Greenwood. That was published in 2012. The case was
to read that one?
Yep, the case. No, don't read that. Was shit. Kerry.
Just read the first one.
Now, the case was covered by Case File True Crime Podcast. Go Case File.
Go Case File. Welcome to the pod. Love you, Case File.
Now, this is how. So, if you don't know Case File, by the way, and you're listening to our podcast, you need to go listen to Case File. Case File pretty much was one of the first podcasts in the world to really kick off true crime podcasting. And it is this legend of a person all on his lonesome, just doing hardcore research. Like Kate and I think we do research. No, this genius.
Oh, excuse me. I look at least 2 to 3 websites per podcast. Like, it's a lot. And I mean, yes, maybe the first or second are both Wikipedia, but the third one's usually another source, like the Daily Mail.
Yeah. And I'm not, shitting on us, Kate, but
no, I completely agree. It's another level. It's such a high level of work and effort that goes into this, and the background research and having something too, because with our pod, we like to keep it, light. We keep it fresh. We'll talk about some heavy stuff, but at the same time, we just like having banter with each other, really. So, we're not necessarily going to spend an hour and a half talking about one subject in depth.
Yeah. Raquel O'Brien, sorry. So go listen to Case File, but Case File True Crime Podcast in case number 2.
Oh, wow.
The Somerton Man aired on January 2016. Like, that's how epic this story is. And a few of our BooPod Network folks have reached out to us and said that Somerton Man was actually one of their first episodes too. So
that's right. Yeah, one of their favourite stories, which is awesome.
But no one released an episode where they got some because we did a boop, boop, boop. Actually, we're probably the first podcast out there that's done a wrap-up episode. So,
oh my God, we could be. I love that.
Episode 50 of the podcast, My Favourite Murder, discuss the case. Gotta love the gals at My Favourite Murder.
Absolutely.
And in 2019, ABC's Radio National released a 6-part series titled The Somerton Man Mystery. So, like, books and shit have been coming out in the past 4 or 5 years, Kate, all about this. And bum, here we go.
Bum.
On the 27th of July, which was a Wednesday this year at 9:02 a.m., Daniel Keane, which tell me that isn't spooky because there was T. Keane or whatever it was in the labels.
That's what I was going to say.
And Gabriella Marchant released this article on abc.net.au. Somerton Man identified as Melbourne electrical engineer, researcher says.
Oh.
Here, I'm just reading it verbatim, folks.
Please, because I haven't read it and I've really wanted to read the article, so please hit me with it. I want to hear it.
It's not long. A researcher in the case of the Somerton Man says he has solved the decades-old mystery, identifying the figure as a Melbourne-born electrical engineer. University of Adelaide researcher D-Man Abbott.
D-Man, my Deza, my Derek Abbott. What a bro.
He believes the unknown man found slumped and lifeless at Adelaide's Somerton Beach on December 1st, 1948 was Carl Charles Webb.
CC Webb.
Yep. CC Webb, a 43-year-old engineer and instrument maker.
Oh.
The case has long baffled detectives and amateur sleuth and is regarded as one of Australia's most enduring mysteries because of strange clues linked to it, including a suspected code and a book of Persian poems. While the mystery man's remains were exhumed last year by South Australia Police, Professor Abbott has in the meantime persisted with his own independent efforts to crack the case. He said, after using hairs found from a plaster bust of the man to gather DNA evidence, researchers in Australia and America had further narrowed the search to build out a family tree containing over 4,000 people.
Oh, my God.
Kate,
imagine it. So I'm picturing this on someone's wall in their office with all the red bits of string. This person's related to this person and this person's this person. That's like an Ancestry.com dream.
Yeah. And Kate, we could be one of those 4,000 people.
We genuinely could.
I know.
Like grandma's like from Adelaide.
I know.
Oh my God. Oh, we need to look into this.
I know.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, Kate, I was so excited to share this news. For our listeners, our family, on mum's side, like our family connection originates from Adelaide. So we could be related.
Oh my God, we could be. That's
now,
wild.
Working in conjunction with US investigator Colleen Fitzpatrick, Professor Abbott said that in March this year, suspicions fell on Webb, who was born in 1905, but later identified as a person with no death record. Professor Abbott, who last week spoke to the ABC about his work, this is where I got my little clue, added the final pieces of DNA proof came into place on Saturday, triangulating to Charles Webb.
Oh, Charles Webb.
Professor Abbott said Webb was born in Footscray on November 16, 1905 to Richard August Webb, 1866 to 1939, and Eliza Amelia Morris Grace, 1871 to 1946. So we need to look them up, Kate.
Okay.
See if they're cousins. He said their investigations had also found a link to the name T. Keane, which was printed on the Somerton man's tie. It turns out that Carl Webb has a brother-in-law called Thomas Keane, who lived just 20 minutes drive away from him in Victoria.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this so much.
So it's not out of the question that these items of clothing he had with T. Keane on them were just hand-me-downs from his brother-in-law.
Of course. Oh, that's so satisfying.
Yep. Professor Abbott also said there was a potential explanation as to why the Melbourne resident was in Adelaide. We can't say for sure, but we can speculate, he said. We have evidence that he had separated from his wife and that she had moved to South Australia. So possibly he had come to track her down. Like, hello, there's Mrs. Webb out there, or ex-Mrs. Webb.
Yeah.
Who surely was looking at papers.
Surely.
Now, next section, relatives alive. Now, Professor Abbott said the team had used popular genealogical DNA databases like Ancestry.com to find Mr. Webb's distant relatives. The first cousin we found was on his paternal side, and the second one we found was on the maternal side, he said. So it's a triangulation from two different, totally distant parts of the tree. So that's very convincing. He said he had tracked down and spoken to Mr. Webb's living relatives already. So I guess, we haven't had a call yet, Kate. But
yeah, I suppose.
I mean,
but if it was from a private number, I'm not picking it up.
Yeah, exactly.
So please don't call me from a private number, and please don't call me from Cuba and Guatemala. I'm not picking up, Darla. I really am not.
Yeah, Derek, if you're trying to get a hold of us, love, sign up to our Patreon.
Yes, send us a message.
All right. Now, I have spoken to them, except they're all of a generation well below him, and so none of them knew him and have no photos in their old family albums or in their garden sheds, unfortunately. I'm hoping as his name gets out there will be somebody that will have an old photo album in a garden shed somewhere. Why, Derek? Why are you so obsessed with garden sheds?
No, why are they in the garden shed? Nobody's keeping shit in their garden sheds. Like, ours are in the linen cupboard upstairs in a box. And if there's a house fire, we'll lose all sense of memory of our history. So it's called a scanner, Mum. It's a scanner. I can scan them for you. No, just leave them. My mum's not 80. I made her sound like she was 80 then. She's not.
Sorry, guys. Now, he added that there was sufficient DNA evidence to definitely disprove any links with his wife, Rachel Egan, whose father, ballet dancer Robin Thompson, was believed to have potentially been a descendant of the Somerton man. So all that bullshit.
All gone. In the bin. Pop that under case file 251, because 252 is where it's at.
So the fact that Thompson has a rare dental and ear condition matching the Somerton man, we just talked about Thompson, appears to be that 1 in 10 million, 1 in 20 million.
God, wouldn't that give you the shits?
Yeah.
That's like such hardcore evidence, and it turns out to just be a massive coincidence.
Coinky dink.
Wow.
Now, the search continues. Professor Abbott said after more than a decade on the case, the discovery felt like summiting a mountain. Hopefully not the one from Miracle Flight 571.
Oh, yeah. Call back.
It kind of feels like climbing Mount Everest and having that mixture of elation that you're at the top, but also tiredness and exhaustion.
Yeah.
However, he said his work is not over. Now there's the historical work of actually digging further and finding out about the man's life and his circumstances and what might have actually led to this particular situation. So he leaves it off with, so there's still work to do.
Deza, you dreamboat.
So before we wrap up,
some
lingering things. If you are related or any of these names that I've just read out, ring to any of our listeners, because you never know the chances. 1 in 20 fucking million. Bloody Thompson and thing had the same droopy ears and
buck teeth. You
never know. Someone could be listening to this podcast right now and could be related and have a photo album in a garden shed. So
if you've got, go and have a look in your garden sheds, everyone. See what you've got.
Look it up. There's all that side that still needs to be discovered, Kate. Like there are people alive today that have a connection and possibly know, know this person.
You always know when like you're a little kid and you'd have all those big family gatherings and there'd be like uncles and like cousins and all this who were older and you were like the little 2-year-old or whatever in the picture. There could be those photos out there where they're all gathered around the Christmas table or all standing around in their stubby shorts with a VB and a ciggy, and they're, one of those people in the pictures could be this, CC Webb.
Yeah. Oof. And if there's photos, there might be letters. And if there are letters, there might be some context about what had happened between CC Webb and his wife, who had moved and escaped to South Australia. maybe they broke up, maybe they divorced, who knows? I'm sure that information is probably already known, but all that context is still findable. If after all these years we can do this, there could be that box of shit that your great grandmother passed down to you and you never scanned because your mum doesn't want to. It could be there. So all that still needs to be discovered. But then they also need to, and they may never find this out, is why was he drunk? Did he poison himself on purpose? Was it suicide or was it accidental?
Yeah.
Was he taken out by someone?
Jealous boyfriend?
Yeah, we don't know. So when we say the case is solved, the mystery of who the Somerton man has been solved, but not all answers have been found.
Oh my God. That was so fantastic.
Drop, Kate.
Woo! You reminded me before I end, amazing job. I love that so much. When you're talking about things that people find that like Grammy might have in a box and hand down. Mum went to Grandma's place. Our grandma's no longer with us. And there was a box of things. And our grandfather was a driver. And he actually drove Prince Philip around when he came to Australia. And Mum was looking through some things with our Uncle John and found an original, like the actual menu of a dinner that had dinner for Prince Philip and had the whole menu listed that Grandpa had taken and saved, and we still have it. So it is from... this time when Grandpa drove Prince Philip around. There's a picture of Grandpa with Prince Philip and his other people. Phenomenal. And I said to Mum, well, what was on the menu? What were they eating? And she said, I didn't remember. And so we'll have to do an episode. I'll get my hands on that. I'll get a picture of it. But that just sprung to mind because that's something that blows my mind. I was like, that's such an amazing piece of history. Not even printed. Yeah. They were probably all handwritten. I don't even know. But I have to get my hands on that, and we will definitely talk about that in another episode. But if you've got things in your garden shed, pull them out. Have a bit of a look.
Oh, Kate, I've never heard that story before.
Yeah.
Obviously I knew he was a truck driver, and I've heard all the stories about his knowledge of diesel engines is why he got the job, was working as a truck driver, all that amazing stuff. But my goodness, that's like museum worthy type thing. Someone would, if they don't have a copy of that, someone would totally be keen to see that sort of thing. So,
yeah, for sure. So I'll speak to Mum and we'll get our hands on it and we can have a bit of a chat about it in another episode at some point. Do a bit of a history app.
Yes. Well,
yay. Oh, Dom, that was so fantastic. I'm so glad that I waited and I didn't read the article. I just saw it on Twitter and forwarded it and said, I'm not looking at it. Can't wait for the next episode. And it did not disappoint. Thank you so, so much for sharing that story and putting in the work for that.
You are most welcome. And there's other articles that have come out since. There's a full-blown interview with Derek Abbott. It is worth going and reading if you're really interested in this case. There's so much detail and information out there, and we just don't have time to go through it all.
Sure.
But really proud of us being able to do a real-life soul story as it's happening.
I know. Oh, God, I can't believe it. That's so cool. And very, very well done. I'm going to, delight you all next week with the most crackers story I have read. And there's been a few doozies, but this one, I'm actually going to put Dom under the pump a little bit because I'm actually going to send you some audio clips of things that we are going to hopefully incorporate into our edit so that our listeners can hear some of this absolutely crackers stuff that I have found. I won't give it away. Just listen. It's amazing. Join me.
Join us. Bring it on. I'm so ready for that, Kate. I would love for us to be sharing some more media of these stories. And if you've got audio files, cannot wait.
Let's do it. All right,
lovely. Now I have blue balls. You can have blue boobs, I've got blue balls because I want to know what this is all about.
It's going to be so much fun.
Cool.
I cannot wait. All right, lovely. I will see you so soon. Thank you so much, listeners, for joining us. Don't forget our Patreon, our socials. Interact with us. Send us pickies, send us questions, send us just little comments. We don't mind. We love you all.
All right. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Have a good time.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye. Yay! That was so great.